Surgeons of Reddit, what was your oh shit moment? I was the patient. I had a liver transplant and was having an ERCP done to place a new bile duct stent. Well, apparently my anatomy is different than normal, and my lungs go more down my sides. So he accidentally caused a nick, which caused a hemothorax. So when I woke up I couldn't breathe. They did an x-ray and had to do a chest tube. Eventually I was so exhausted I asked to be vented, so he vented me. Apparently he cried, he felt so bad about it all. But it wasn't him being malicious or negligent. It was simply an accident. Not a surgeon, but I was observing a hand surgery about a year ago at a teaching hospital. The surgeon was removing one of the carpals, the bones near the base of the hand, to be used later. A nurse was given the carpal to hold until it needed to be used. She ended up dropping the patient's bone on the ground. Just an RN here. I was working in the ER and had a patient brought in by her husband. Apparently the woman had a fall a week prior and injured her face but refused medical care. Her husband finally forced her to come in. As soon as I see the wound on her face, from across the room, I think, that does not look like any wound I've seen. I approached her and realized maggots had infested the wound and were eating the rotting skin. A really simple and quick fix, but I can't imagine her living conditions. Not a surgeon, but I was having surgery on my breast to remove what they suspected was cancer. It was benign, but either way I woke up during the surgery and I looked up and saw 4 people with scrub caps on, staring down at me. I looked at my boob in pure horror, and that is all I remember because they knocked me back out. Still makes me want to vomit thinking about it. I was only 13. Not myself, but 3 years ago my grandmother was in hospital to get her brain tumor removed. 9 hours later we got to see her, only for the surgeon to say, "Went well for the most part." Dropped the top of her skull though, and just like that he walked away eating his apple. We were all stood like. Not a surgeon, but mine told me, "I realized your pancreas was severed and the majority section was apparently crushed." I froze for a moment while my brain formulated a plan to revive the corpse with a heart that has not stopped yet. I suppose I'm lucky. Not a doctor, but my grandfather was scheduled to have double knee replacement surgery when he was in his 70s. They go through a bunch of health screenings to make sure your body can take the stress of the surgery, and during one of these screenings, the cardio doc found an aneurysm in his aorta, running basically the length of his torso. The doctors were shocked he was still alive with that in his chest. He ended up having to have stent surgery in his aorta first, and then, a few months later, was cleared for his knee replacements. I woke up during a bronchoscope. That was interesting. Thankfully a scope and not an incision. Not a surgeon, but a patient. When I was like 12, I had this growing lump right behind my ear which was super painful to the point where it became too difficult to sleep. Obviously freaked out, my mom took me to the doctor and they were just as stumped, saying it might be a huge pimple or something similar. She called the on-call surgeon just in case. He took one look and said something is definitely in there. After some local anesthesia and a lot of digging, it turns out one of my earrings, tiny butterfly studs, had burrowed into my ear during my sleep and made its way deep into my flesh. My mom suddenly recalled my missing earring, thinking it had fallen off in school or something. Kinda freaky.